Hello everyone. While making healthy food choices is crucial for longevity, improper food storage, especially for meat, presents an immediate and significant risk, particularly for those over 60. You might be surprised to learn that the danger isn't just about what you eat, but how long it sits in your refrigerator. If you are watching this, make sure to follow HEALZO and share this video with someone who stores leftovers without a second thought. Let's discuss something that could quietly harm your health. 7 types of meat that should never be left overnight in the refrigerator, because for seniors, they do not just spoil, they can pose a serious risk of severe foodborne illness. 1. Ground beef. Hello everyone. Can we talk about what is really inside a pack of ground beef? It is easy to look at that red color and think you are looking at fresh meat. However, what most people do not realize is this. Ground beef is not just a solid piece of meat. It is a blend of muscle fibers, fat, and connective tissue, all finely ground together. This process significantly increases its surface area, making it highly susceptible to rapid bacterial growth even when refrigerated. The fat in ground beef can hold on to moisture and nutrients that bacteria thrive on. Over time, and even with proper refrigeration, these conditions allow harmful bacteria to multiply faster than in whole cuts of meat. While slight oxidation of fats can occur, the main concern with ground beef, especially for overnight storage, is the potential for pathogenic bacteria. For people over 60, this is even more critical. As we age, our immune systems are often less robust, and our digestive systems might not fight off bacteria as effectively. If you are dealing with conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, or kidney issues, consuming ground beef that has allowed bacteria to multiply can lead to severe foodborne illness, causing dehydration, organ strain, and significant fatigue. Therefore, when it comes to senior health, ground beef is considered one of the riskiest meats, not just because of its composition, but primarily because its processing makes it a prime breeding ground for bacteria if not handled and stored meticulously. It starts with a higher bacterial load compared to whole cuts, and its increased surface area accelerates spoilage. If you are over 60, play it safe. Treat ground beef as an ingredient to be cooked and consumed on the same day it is purchased. The longer it sits, even in the refrigerator, the higher the risk of bacterial proliferation. If you've ever thought storing ground beef overnight was no big deal, just wait until you hear what bacon fat can quietly do after it's been cooked. This next part takes it a step further. 2. Cooked bacon. Alright, let's say you made a full breakfast this morning, perhaps a couple of bacon strips and some eggs. You did not finish the entire plate, so you wrapped up the leftover bacon and placed it in the refrigerator. Sounds harmless, right? However, here is where things can become a concern, especially if you are over 60. Cooked bacon might seem safe because it has already been exposed to high heat, but what many people do not realize is that the fat in bacon continues to undergo changes even after it has been cooked. This fat can go through a process called lipid oxidation. Put simply, when it cools and sits, the fat can break down into compounds that are less stable. When you reheat that leftover bacon the next morning, you are not just crisping it up again, you are further exposing those fats to heat, which can accelerate the formation of more oxidized compounds. For younger individuals, their bodies might handle this relatively well, but for older adults, particularly anyone with high cholesterol or a history of heart problems, this is where potential cumulative dietary stress can quietly build up. While general dietary intake of saturated and oxidized fats can contribute to cardiovascular concerns over time by affecting blood lipid levels and arterial health, attributing acute symptoms like sudden fatigue or chest tightness directly to compounds formed from reheating a single portion of bacon is an overstate. The primary concern with processed meats like bacon, even when consumed fresh, is their high saturated fat and sodium content, which are known contributors to cardiovascular complications in older adults, as noted by organizations like the American Heart Association. For senior health, repeatedly consuming reheated bacon, with its potential for increased oxidized fats, contributes to an overall dietary pattern that can burden your arteries over the long term. If you enjoy bacon, that is perfectly fine. Just aim to cook only the amount you plan to eat immediately and avoid the habit of saving the rest for tomorrow's plate. Sometimes, mindful portion control and fresh preparation are crucial steps for supporting your heart health. Ever saved a few strips of bacon and reheated them later? If that sounds familiar, type 2 in the comments. 3. Smoked ham, store-wrapped. Hi there, let's talk about something that seems convenient and harmless on your plate: store-wrapped smoked ham. It is thin, neat, and easy to use. However, here is what most people do not know, especially if you are over 60. That slice of ham is not just plain meat. It has been treated with curing agents and salts, including nitrates and nitrites, which are added to preserve it, maintain its pink color, and extend its shelf life. While these compounds are regulated for safety in small amounts, their presence, particularly alongside high sodium, is not neutral for your body. Once consumed, the high sodium content can interact with your body's fluid balance and blood chemistry, especially if you already have high blood pressure or circulatory problems. What do they actually do? The high sodium in processed meats like ham can contribute to increased blood pressure, which over time can irritate the inner lining of your blood vessels. Think of your arteries like flexible garden hoses. When you are younger, they stretch and move easily, but after 60, those hoses naturally begin to stiffen, so any added stress from diet, stress, or high sodium can accelerate the thickening or hardening of artery walls. This contributes to conditions like arterial stiffness or even irregular heartbeat, particularly in seniors. Additionally, smoked ham contains proteins that have been altered through processing. While digested proteins are processed by your liver and kidneys, implying that these processed proteins from ham immediately create an excessive load that directly triggers acute fatigue, inflammation, or swelling after meals is an overstatement. However, for individuals with pre-existing liver or kidney conditions, excessive intake of processed foods high in sodium and phosphorus can add stress to these organs. As noted by organizations like the American Heart Association, these kinds of processed meats, like store-bought ham, are linked to a higher chance of developing heart disease in older adults. This is primarily due to their high sodium content and often high saturated fat, rather than solely how modified proteins are broken down in a single meal. So for senior health, it is not about avoiding all ham forever. It is about realizing that what feels easy to chew and gentle on the stomach might be subtly contributing to chronic stress on your blood vessels and organs. If you are over 60, an occasional slice here and there will likely not cause harm, but making it a daily habit is where the long-term risks accumulate. If you're worried about store-wrapped ham because of preservatives, chicken wings might give you another reason to pause. One hides salt, the other hides fat, but both quietly strain your joints and circulation. 4. Chicken wings, pre-cooked or grilled. Hey, picture this. You open the refrigerator, spot last night's grilled chicken wings, and think, perfect for lunch. You microwave them, heat them up, and dig in. But here's what your body might subtly experience afterward. Perhaps a slight feeling of heaviness, or a general sense of fatigue that was not there before. Sound familiar? See, Chicken wings, especially when the skin is left on, are not just protein. They are layered with cooked fat trapped under the skin, which undergoes changes after it cools. When poultry fat is grilled, compounds are formed within the skin and meat, primarily from the breakdown of fats and proteins. These processes can lead to the creation of oxidized lipids and other compounds that your body may perceive as inflammatory. When you reheat those wings the next day, you are not just warming them up, you are potentially reactivating and re-ingesting these compounds. Now, if you are over 60, your body's metabolic and detoxification processes might not be as efficient as they once were. If you live with conditions like gout, arthritis, or elevated triglycerides, the cumulative effect of these dietary components, including oxidized fats, can contribute to systemic inflammation and potentially exacerbate existing condition. The skin, being high in fat where many of these compounds form during cooking and storage, can be a more significant concern from a dietary perspective. While a specific direct joint report from the National Institute on Aging stating an acute spike in post-meal inflammation from reheated poultry fat might be difficult to reference with that exact phrasing, general nutritional science supports that a diet high in oxidized fats can contribute to chronic inflammation, which many seniors might indeed attribute to general aging rather than specific dietary habits. For senior health, repeatedly consuming reheated chicken wings, particularly with the skin, means increasing your intake of fats that have undergone multiple heating cycles, which can contribute to dietary inflammation over time. If you enjoy chicken, that is perfectly fine. Just consider removing the skin, avoid reheating older grilled pieces, and opt for freshly cooked white meat. Your body, including your joints, will likely benefit from these choices. If leftover chicken wings ever left you feeling bloated or tired, go ahead and comment 4. You're not alone. 5. Hot dogs/sausages. Well, let's rewind a bit. You have been eating hot dogs since you're 20-ish, right? Ball games, backyard cookouts, summer road trips. They are a classic, and they have been with you through many experiences. But here is the thing most of us do not stop to consider. Hot dogs and sausages are not just simple meat products. They are typically packed with curing agents and preserving salts, such as nitrates and nitrites, along with highly processed meat components, all blended, shaped, and designed for extended shelf life. While these preserving agents contribute to microbial safety, their interaction with the body over time is a concern, especially due to their high sodium content. Over the years, consistent high intake of sodium from processed meats can contribute to the stiffening of blood vessels and impact overall circulatory health. In your younger years, your body might have processed this more efficiently. However, past 60, your body's ability to manage these dietary challenges can be diminished. Moreover, the processing of these meats, including the presence of nitrates and nitrites, has been linked to various health concerns. While the idea that blended proteins directly confuse your immune system or cause immediate balance issues is an oversimplification, a diet high in ultra-processed foods is known to contribute to systemic inflammation and can negatively impact overall health, including neurological function, over the long term. If you have noticed symptoms like tingling in your legs, shaky hands, or slower thinking, these are important signals from your body, and while complex, dietary patterns can be a contributing factor. Research from institutions like the Cleveland Clinic's Neurology Institute and other studies indicate that long-term, regular consumption of processed meats, like hot dogs and sausages, is associated with an increased risk of chronic conditions that can affect nerve health and circulation in older adults, including cardiovascular disease and cognitive decline. The effects often develop subtly and may go unnoticed until they become more established. For senior health, even moderate consumption of processed meats can subtly interfere with long-term vascular health and potentially cognitive function due to factors like high sodium and the formation of potentially harmful compounds. You will not feel a significant impact after one bite, but the cumulative effect over decades is where the danger builds. So if hot dogs have been a frequent part of your diet for years, perhaps it is time to reduce their consumption or at least save them for very rare occasions. Your nerves, your circulation, and your memory may benefit significantly from this change. Hot dogs slowly wear down your nerves over time, but meatloaf puts steady pressure on your liver and kidneys with every bite. Both build up damage, just in different ways. 6. Leftover meatloaf. You ever finish a plate of meatloaf from the refrigerator and feel exhausted afterward, like your body just went into slow motion? There can be a reason for that. Meatloaf might seem straightforward, but it is one of the more challenging foods for your body to break down, especially if it has been sitting overnight. Its texture is typically dense and can be high in fat from the ground meat and any added binders or gravies. Unlike lighter cuts of meat, the thick and compact nature of meatloaf means it cools and heats unevenly. This density can make it harder to digest and can retain fats and other compounds. Now, that is a significant task for anyone, but if you are over 60 and living with kidney issues, liver fatigue, or slow digestion, it is even more demanding. Your liver and kidneys function as your body's cleanup crew, processing nutrients and eliminating waste. With age, their efficiency can naturally decrease. So, when these organs are faced with a dense, high-fat meal, especially one that has been stored and reheated, it can place an extra burden on them, potentially leading to feelings of bloating, tiredness, or even slight nausea. Sometimes, it is not just the seasoning, it is your system signaling that it is struggling to keep up. General nutrition guidelines and research from institutions like the National Institute on Aging suggest that heavy, high-fat meals, including dense leftovers, can contribute to digestive discomfort and post-meal fatigue, particularly for older adults whose digestive systems are less robust. The composition of such foods can also contribute to overall systemic inflammation over time. For senior health, these slow-digesting, dense foods can subtly challenge the liver and kidneys, especially as you age. You do not need to stop eating meatloaf entirely, but if you are going to enjoy it, aim to consume it freshly prepared and in a smaller portion. Because sometimes, what seems like a simple meal can have a prolonged impact on your body. Be honest, have you ever felt wiped out after eating leftover meatloaf? Hit 6 if you've felt that heaviness. 7. Deli meats, turkey, roast beef, etc. A few slices of turkey or roast beef from the deli section can seem like the perfect choice, lean, light, and quick to prepare. That is why so many people over 60 rely on them for sandwiches or a simple protein boost. But thin does not mean harmless. Deli meats are often pre-treated with various additives, including moisture-retaining agents and coloring stabilizer. While these ingredients are used for texture and appearance, along with curing salts like nitrates and nitrites, their regular consumption contributes to a dietary pattern that can have long-term health implications, particularly for seniors. The high sodium content, for instance, is a well-established factor that can negatively impact blood pressure and cardiovascular health over time, which in turn affects blood flow to the brain and other vital organs. Here's why that matters. As we age, blood flow to the brain can naturally become less efficient. If you already live with mild cognitive issues, memory fog, or borderline high blood sugar, the cumulative impact of a diet high in processed foods, including deli meats, can potentially exacerbate these challenges. While you may not feel a dramatic impact after a single meal, consistent consumption builds slowly, slice by slice, contributing to overall dietary stress. Furthermore, these meats are often consumed cold. While the temperature of food does not significantly alter digestive enzyme activity in a detrimental way for healthy individuals, older digestive systems, which can be less efficient overall, may find large portions of any dense, processed food more challenging to break down, potentially leading to feelings of sluggishness or digestive discomfort. Clinical reviews and nutritional research, including studies relevant to the National Institute on Aging's focus, suggest that a long-term diet high in processed meats is linked to systemic inflammation and an increased risk of cognitive decline and cardiovascular issues in older adults. These effects are often related to factors like high sodium, unhealthy fats, and certain preserving compounds that contribute to oxidative stress and vascular damage over time, rather than immediate inflammation in brain tissue from cold meat alone. For senior health, even seemingly thin cuts of deli meat can contribute to significant chronic health concerns, especially when brain function and circulation are already under strain. It is not about eliminating them entirely, but do not let their convenience deceive you about their nutritional impact. Choose fresh cooked proteins when possible and keep processed cold cuts as the exception, not a daily habit, because what feels light on your plate might, over time, have a heavy impact on your overall well-being. And after everything we've just covered, especially that last bit about deli meats, it really makes you think. It's not just the big, greasy meals we need to watch out for. Sometimes it's the small, everyday choices that subtly sneak up on us. That meatloaf you thought was harmless? Turns out, it sits heavy on more than just your stomach. The leftover chicken wings? They might bring back more than just flavor. They can contribute to fatigue and joint discomfort. Bacon might smell like comfort, but inside, it's more like a quiet, ticking time bomb for your arteries. And that good old ground beef? Once it's ground, there's a whole world of potential issues inside, especially after a night in the fridge. Even smoked ham and hot dogs, things we grew up on, come with quiet risks that build over the years. None of these foods immediately scream danger. That's what makes them tricky. But now you know what they can really do to a body that's over 60 and working hard to stay balanced. So maybe next time it's worth slowing down before you reheat that slice or reach for what's easy, because your body remembers what your eyes cannot always see. You know, one of the most common things I hear from older folks is this: the meat still looks pink, it should be fine. And I get it. We were all raised to trust our eyes. If it is red, not gray, if it does not smell funny, it must be safe, right? Not always. See that bright pink color you are relying on? It is not always a sign of freshness. In many cases, it is the result of a natural reaction between the meat and oxygen, or even the preservatives added during packaging. These reactions keep the surface looking good while the inside may already be breaking down. This is even more true if the meat was ground, marinated, or pre-sliced before storage, as these processes increase the surface area exposed to bacteria. For people over 60, relying solely on what your eyes see can be risky. Our digestion slows down, and our immunity is not as sharp. So what your body could easily overcome at 30 can now land you in the ER at 65. I have read guidance from the U.S. Department of Agriculture stating that meat can appear safe even when harmful bacteria have already started multiplying deep inside, especially after sitting in the refrigerator overnight. That is why color alone is not enough. You have to trust time, not just appearance. If something has been sitting for more than a day or two, especially meat that is soft, marbled, or pre-packed, do not wait for it to look bad, because by the time it looks bad, your body may have already done the hard part of fighting off potential illness. It all comes down to one simple reminder. When it comes to meat and senior health, the danger does not always come with a warning sign, and what looks safe at first glance might be anything but. And now that you know the truth, even about something as simple as meat color, it is easier to spot the risks before they sneak up on you. A few small changes today can protect your memory, your joints, your heart, and keep you from paying the price later. The real message here? It is not just about what kind of meat you eat. It is about how long it has been sitting there, what is going on inside it, and whether your body at this stage of life can still handle the potential damage. If you are over 60, this is not about fear. It is about being smart, staying sharp, and giving your body the help it needs to keep going strong. So take care of yourself, stay hydrated, get your regular checkups, and most of all, if this video opened your eyes, follow HEALZO for more senior health tips that truly matter. Share this with a friend who keeps leftovers a little too long. You might help them more than you think.